Okay, hopefully that's not too shaky. I want you guys to see these numbers, okay? You got them? Keep those in mind, because we're going to do some math. So for people who like math, that's great. Actually, I love math. That's fantastic. So anyway, if you look down there at the very bottom where it says third previous, okay, that when we were roaming around Illinois, this is my wife's 2016 Honda Odyssey minivan, okay? When we were roaming around, stop and go, start and stop, that's what I average miles per gallon is on the right. And that number is almost on the money every time I check it manually at the gas pumps. So Honda did a really good job with that. So I average 21 to 22 miles per gallon, highway, city combined. Then look up one notch where it says second previous tank full. I drove 474.7 miles and I averaged 29.8 miles per gallon. Okay? Now this is our trip to South Florida. We drove my wife's minivan. Okay? Then the next gas tank, which would have been closer, the one previous, excuse me, is 425.7. Oh, somebody's calling me. We're going to finish this when I'm done. Okay? Stand by for just a minute. Well, it got canceled. So yeah, so then it was 425.7 and I got 29.9. And then my third, now we're going to go into detail here in a minute on this. Currently I've put 446 miles on this tank, but I'm going to do the calculation because we still had a half a tank when I got to South Florida and I had averaged 30 miles per gallon on that tank. But since then, we've driven another 150 miles of stop and start in town and I'm starting to lose my miles per gallon. Okay? So bear with me and I'll flip this camera around and we'll get all those numbers together and I'll explain it to you. But just remember those numbers. Okay, so let's put some numbers together to explain that. So our first if you can't tell, we're in South Florida now. The first tank full from Pekin, Illinois, we drove to, I think it was Manchester, Tennessee, Murfreesboro, something like that. We drove 474.7 miles. Then we got gas, and that's south of Nashville. That's between Nashville and Chattanooga. And then after the fill up, we drove 425.7, as you saw on that sheet, the next fill up and I stopped in Valdosta, Georgia, the southernmost part of Georgia. Usually, Georgia and Tennessee are some of the cheapest places to purchase gas. If you're traveling, Kentucky, Georgia, Tennessee, if you're going those states. And I wanted to fill up in Valdosta before we got to Florida in case gas was, I don't know, 20, 25 cents a gallon more expensive in Florida. Now, and that's what happened. Valdosta, I think the gas was $2.59, something like that. $2.55, $2.59, something like that in Valdosta, Georgia when I got gas. Then we drove on into South Florida and we drove another 315 miles. Just about. I should have taken a picture when we got here. I still had a half a tank of gas and the distance showed that we still had another 300 we could drive. And I had averaged 30 miles per gallon on that section. So 29.8, 29.9, 30. My wife's Honda minivan, it's on the highway. It is phenomenal. It just does great. It's around town, stop and go traffic. That's where it really hurts. And as you saw on those numbers before, that bottom one, the third previous tank full, was
all Illinois driving. So we averaged 21.8, and it is. I mean, every time we do a fill up, like if we're driving around Illinois for 6 months, I can look at the 3 previous tank fulls and it'll be 21 to 22 miles per gallon. That's what it averages for per tank full. So, but that's not what this is about. This is the honest difference between road tripping the Chevy Bolt, the exact same route, August 25th, I think we took off in the Chevy Bolt, versus this drive that we did in my wife's 2016 Honda Odyssey minivan. It's got 100,000 miles on it. So we drove straight through. We didn't need a hotel. So when we took the Bolt, we had driven, I think we took off at like 6 a.m. We got in about 9 p.m. to Chattanooga, which is 600 miles. So you're looking at, there's a 14-hour day. And then the second day was another 12 to 14-hour day. And we knew that to get in here to South Florida with the 6 or 7 stops, that we ended up having total. So if I don't know how to say this, I love our Chevy Bolt, and I wish I had it here now. As a lot of you know, there's snowbirds in South Florida. There's a lot of people like me that come to Florida in the winter, don't like cold weather, don't like snowy weather and bad weather. So there are an extra couple million people stuffed in Florida right now. Today is January 11th. So I wish I had it for all of the traffic here and the stop and go and driving and blah 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 blah. But getting it from point A to point B is difficult. And anybody who says it isn't is not telling you the truth. Okay? And that's what this channel is all about. Everything is 100% truthful. The good and the bad, the ugly, the whatever you want to hear it. I'm telling you the honest truth. So I told my wife that I'm like, I don't want to pay for a transport to get it here, but if we had it here, it would be perfect for the winter. I mean, it handles, 10 times better than the van. The stop and go and the mileage is much better than what we're going to get in the van now. But breaking down the road trip to get here, let's just get back to that. I literally spent between $100 and $108, and I don't have the exact amount, for fuel to get here in the Honda. So, and that was actually, I never count, and I didn't with the Bolt either. Like I charged up the Bolt when we came in August to 100%, and I didn't count that. We left the house at 0, so to speak. So I left the house with a full tank. I don't count those. So when we left Illinois, we had a full tank of gas. I didn't count that. So some people say, oh, you got to count the first fill up before you left. I just never have. It's just the way I do stuff. And I wouldn't have counted the Bolts charging at my house to fill up to go either. But if you add in that tank full in Illinois, then you're at 145 or 150 bucks one way to come down. And I probably should. It was that gas that I took off and left. I mean, so there's, let's say $150 to come down. Well, the weather's cold, and as you know, with the Bolt, we don't have a heat pump in the Bolt. So, and I don't have heated seats or heated steering wheel, and I don't want to wear a winter jacket and hat and sit in there and freeze. So I always make it comfortable in the car. Well, to do that, you're heating up a heating element to put heat into the car. I've lost somewhere around, I want to say anywhere from 15 to 20% of my energy when I look at my energy use is from the heater I've lost on my mileage, okay? And as you know, or may not know, on some of my trips, on the road trip down here in the Bolt, the air conditioning was fine. We would maybe use 8%, 7%, 6%. I mean, the air conditioning was efficient. So, batteries don't like cold weather, and it's cold at home right now. Next week it's going to be, they're calling for 10 below zero back home next week. So if I'm losing 20% of my energy, all right, let's just use round numbers. If I was going to get 250 miles out of full charge, take 20% is 50 miles off of that, okay? Now you're down to 200. And if that's for a full tank, on road tripping, the Bolt, you don't want to stay there till 100%, or it might be 3 days later before you get to move on. Once you get past 80%, it's already a slow, fast charging car. You don't want to stay past 80% because it really starts dropping off on the charge rate. I mean, I've seen it. We've done it just to test it. So you want to leave it 80%. Okay, well, 80%, now are you down to 150 miles per charge? I drove over that, so now I have to add some more charges in along the way. You get my point? I was trying to go, 165 miles, 185 miles in August, grab some charge, 165 or 185, grab some charge. Or we stretched it at one point close to 200, I think, down in Georgia. I wanted to do that. You can't do that in the wintertime. And the cold weather has reached all the way down to northern Florida. Now, I've seen a couple of newscasters talking about the cold, and when I say cold, I mean compared to what they're used to. But if it was in the 40s, they're not used to that. So they're thinking, oh man, I'm used to, 55 overnight and 70 during the day, or 75. Well, now they're in the low 40s overnight. That makes it a lot colder. So, and again, I digress. But this video was made to just explain firsthand the difference in road tripping, okay? I said this back when we did it in August. There isn't a gas car or an electric car, that can compete for, right now, for road tripping, gas versus electric. If you're just looking like me, I'm a very impatient person, and when I want to go somewhere, I want to go somewhere. I tried to be patient with the Bolt, and you can see it in my demeanor on those videos. If you haven't, you got to go back and look at the August videos, and even maybe beginning of September when we came back. It's just brutal. And I knew that going in. I lived it. It was not good. We drive in my wife's minivan. We drove straight through. Now, we didn't leave until afternoon. We left at like 12:30 last Saturday. So we had things to do in the morning, got to watch my grandson play basketball. So that was awesome. I wouldn't want to miss that for anything. Then we took off. So we drove straight through, and it was at about 5:30 in the morning, I was starting to get tired because we'd left so late. We were in Ocala, Florida, and so we pulled off at a Love's truck stop. I think it was a Love's. Yeah, we parked. There were cars parked on the side, people sleeping, and it was right next to the building. But we pulled over. There was about I'd say 8 or 10 cars, people sleeping in their cars, doing the same thing we did. We pulled in. There was an open slot. I pulled in. I dozed off for like 2.5 hours. Woke up about 7:30. Got a cup of coffee. Off we went. And 2.5 hours later, we were here in South Florida, in Port Charlotte, Punta Gorda. So, had I not been tired and needed that 2 to 2.5 hours sleep, we'd have been in by 7:30 in the morning. We'd have been here. And that tells you, that's, what's that, 19 hours? You subtract an hour from, we lost an hour and we went to Eastern time zone from Central. So it really was only 18 hours of driving. We could have been here in 18 hours. And as you know, when we took the Bolt, in 14 hours, we were in Chattanooga, 600 miles from home. And then I had another 13 to 14 hour day. It was a long, maybe 12, the second day. It was a lot to get in. So you're looking, and plus a hotel room, plus, my whole idea of this is to save money. I'm trying to be as efficient as I can in every area that I can. And honestly, driving down here, the Bolt, even if we'd have slept in the car, the Bolt probably would have cost us close to the same cost, because level 3 fast charging is not cheap. Okay, again, love my Bolt. Wouldn't I don't want to get rid of it for nothing, unless I upgrade to another electric car. But when you DC fast charge, I don't care if it's a Tesla or what it is, it's not cheap. It is not cheap. So the whole idea is to charge at your condo or charge overnight at a hotel for free, or charge at your home, which is dirt cheap. I save tons of money by charging at my house in Illinois. That's where you really, really make bank. So that is the most important thing. But if you road trip all the time, you're not saving money at all. I did the math back here when I rented the Tesla for a week, and I had to charge it. I paid 37 cents a kilowatt, charging it up. I started doing the math, and my wife's van would have been much cheaper to take, paying gas at $2.85 a gallon, I think it was back then. It's like, now if gas is $5 and $6 a gallon, now we're back where, okay, it's not feasible. But at $3 a gallon, it's still cheaper to take the van to road trip. And I know there's a lot of people out there who road trip and who love to road trip. And I watch a lot of channels that do that, and they have their Bolt. Shout out to Spinner EV. You guys do a great job, and you're prepared for it, and you don't mind it a bit. And I love watching your videos. Those are the ways I do it. To do it, I did the Bolt down to South Florida because I saw a couple videos that said you can't do it, and it's not possible, and it might take you some unbelievable amount of time. I'm like, nah, I think we can do it in 2 days. But when you live it, let me just tell you firsthand, when you live it, going 1,250 miles, it's a lot. You can plan, and that's just driving to the stops and charging for an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, and then driving to the next stop. We're not sightseeing anything. We're not able to see anything. We're just trying to get from point A to point B. And it was not enjoyable, you know. Again, love my car, and probably, you know, you road trip like us. We road trip, I don't know, 10% of the time, maybe. I don't know, maybe it's not even that. So for me, the Bolt is perfect 90% of the time. You know, we've driven up to Chicago and had pizza. We've done that a couple of times. Well, I've got an EV-Go card that has credits on it. There's an EV-Go station near where we get pizza. So for me, that's a free trip. I drive up, we have pizza, have a great time. I jump on the charger for a half hour, drive home, you know, drive home, it's free. Those are the kind of things, and that's 150 miles to Chicago for us. St. Louis, same way. We can go either way, and it's fine. We've been to Indianapolis now. That's 200 miles to our friend's house in Indianapolis. But, you know, we stopped at the Beef House in between on a Tesla destination charger while we ate lunch. We threw it on there and got like 30, I don't know, we were there, we got like 35 miles or something added on while we ate lunch, and that was free. So then we can go to Indianapolis. I can plug in at my friend's house while we stay there. I mean, those are the kind of things for us. I would say up to 200 miles one way is probably what my comfort zone is. And then we'd have to, you know, talk about it after that. But I just wanted to get this out. That's why I titled it the way I did, because it is, I've done both now, back basically, you know, and I've driven gas cars for years down here. So to just see the time difference in your head, you know, was a big difference. I knew it was going to be a lot quicker road tripping, but now my wife's van has a 21-gallon tank. So that's why we can go almost, well, when I fill it up, it usually says like 603 miles till it's empty. I'm like, ooh, you know. And if you do the math, if you get 30 miles per gallon, and well, let's just say 20 gallons, you know, there's 600 miles right there per tank full. So that's making some time right there. You know, if you're driving and you can have coffee or just, you know, and just driving, you can just make some time, you know, that's how you road trip. And that's what it's for. That van was made for that. That's what it's for. Around town, not so much. And now we're here and we're in the traffic, and I continue to say, I really like the Bolt more and more and more. So I'll close it there. I just want to say thanks for all the comments. Everybody's been great to us. A lot of positive comments and some advice, which, if you know me, I'm open to advice. Anybody, I'm not out here telling people how to live and when to draw your Social Security, and you know what I mean. I'm asking and I'm telling people how I'm living. Okay, so if somebody has advice, please continue to display that in the comments. I listen and read all of them. So with that, everybody be safe. We're going to be back home. We're flying home next week. We got birthdays and things like that. So this is kind of a trip down, and then we're going to fly home. Then we'll be back. I'll make some videos both at home and here. We'll keep it up. So just stay tuned, guys. Thanks.